Hi, everybody. Welcome to our new episode, Think the Place Where You Would Be. The true humanhood Mary Baker Eddy speaks of as perfect is the demonstration of soul as thinking. Your acknowledging of God identifies you with God as God. Thinking is radical reliance on truth, or shall we say, what truth is, being demonstrated as thinking. This that is called man is no thinker of ideas or thoughts and no declarer of truth.
Yep.
The idea of mind is mind expressing itself as conscious identity or perception. You are the being that is seen with the present sense of sight as perceiver and perceived, as thinker and thought, as declarer and declared. As long as you think about the oneness of being as if you were not that oneness, you need not be surprised at your lack of vision and thus lack of things that make life a joy. So now that we know that the joy of living is not a gift, but an operational fact of awareness, no longer can we believe that God heals or that a pill has given comfort. This point of view vanishes in the light of science. Perfection is gained because perfection is. If your vision is dulled by the belief of yourself as a person, you are not being in belief what you are factually. Without being the radical reliance on truth, do not be surprised if you have no real joy of living. Without vision, the people perish. Good is the acknowledgement of good, capital G, and there is no good outside of that acknowledgement. Now, all of that was taken from Margaret Laird's booklet, What is the Idea? Pages 64 and 65. Welcome, Betty. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Excellent.
No,
Hopefully.
that title, Think the Place Where You Would Be, is a Shakespeare quote.
Yep.
And each one does that all the time, whether we acknowledge it or not. The plus comes when you acknowledge it. Because if you're blind to what you're up to, you just go along with ho hum, ho hum, ho hum.
Right.
And it makes no difference in your experience. But when you recognize that the presence you are is the acknowledgement of God being, you can move with a whole different shift in seeing yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very good. Very good. All right. Well, let's just dive in here. So, in What is the Idea? On page 66, Margaret Laird wrote, all value lies in the thinking, and therefore in you as its conscious identity.
You want to read the note that goes with that?
Sure.
Okay.
This means that comfort, joy, satisfaction, beauty, success, and fulfillment are experienced in the human sense of things as each individual's capacity to be the God idea as thinking.
Yeah. Imagine being aware that that's what's going on when you're having a good time. That's what's going on when you're being creative, when you're digging into something, discovering new things, new ways to look at something, new perceptions, new insights. That's what's going on. It's the you that's present rather than the look of you.
Right, right.
Yep.
Okay. And in Science and Health on page 543, starting on line 26, Mary Baker Eddy wrote it this way: ideas of truth alone are reflected in the myriad manifestations of life.
Yeah. And, Say that really slowly because I don't think we get that when we just hear those words.
Yeah, ideas of truth alone are reflected in the myriad manifestations of life. And that would be in everything that we see here, feel, taste, touch. Is that the myriad manifestations of life?
Well, the myriad manifestations of life, yes and no. They are that because that is your best view
Right.
of the reality that's present, of the reality that is truth alone reflected.
Mm-hmm.
But when I can let go of any opinion or judgment or attachment to the way it looks, I can get right to the point. I can have a fuller experience of that presence.
Okay.
See, when I attach meaning to what I'm reading, I've missed the boat.
Mm-hmm.
When I give up on my determination to figure it all out,
Yeah.
and I know what that means. I know exactly what that means. We let go of all of that and just allow that idea to perk. Just let it perk along. Pretty soon you get something that you never thought of before.
Yeah.
That's part of it too. Well, keep that in. What do I want to say about that? Keep that open, inquiring curiosity present as you're working along.
Right.
If I have one good idea, there must be a million others. Let's keep
Right.
looking.
Right.
A new way to see it. There must be a whole bunch of new ways to see it. What else? What else? What more?
Right. That what that brings up in me is the curiosity.
Yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
curiosity of, that's the way it looks. How else could it look? What other interpretation around all of this could I have
We
of
find
that which I'm
ourselves,
seeing?
excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. I was just thinking, when we look out there and it's just like, ugh, and but then I can say, but wait a minute, there's only one thing going on. So what's another possibility for my seeing?
Yeah.
And it's the curiosity, the openness, and I guess the key word here is being willing
Yep.
to drop whatever my automatic is.
Yeah. I think so often of that story that Margaret used to tell about the man that had developed really quite a problem with himself, and he was in um, I guess I'd call it a rehab group, and for treatment, and he wasn't making much progress. And so he was standing in the back of the room and he was listening to some of the others talk. And there was a new lady that had joined the group, and she was carrying on about what was going on with her. And he listened, and he thought, that woman is nuts. And all of a sudden he thought, that's the way I've been thinking. He left that group within 2 weeks. It was a huge shift in who he could see himself to be.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for, is that opening that lets me not be Betty, that lets me be much bigger than that, much more open, much more willing, much more unattached to the belief system,
Yeah.
much more inquiring, much more curious.
Yeah.
I just think about it so often. I think the key word for me is always acknowledgement. Acknowledgement of the facts present, whether I see them or not, whether I have an intellectual perception of them or not. Just acknowledging all is infinite mind. All, all. And then I look at language and I say, oh, yeah, that's a point of view. That's not even a thing. So you can't depend on anything in language. It's not anything I can hang my hat on.
Right.
So all is infinite mind is really talking to or speaking to the mental nature of reality.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that all is infinite mind, it's all mental.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that action that has me occur with my point of view and my Betty stuff.
Right.
That wouldn't even appear if that action weren't present.
Right.
And when I'm in touch with the action that has me be, freedom occurs.
Right.
Peace and joy and power and everything else. Because that's where it all resides. It
Right.
doesn't reside in the language look that I'm pushing around.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thus it is seen that man springs solely from mind.
Yep.
All right. And in Mind is the Athlete, in your book on page 96, you wrote, a whole new arena of focus opens up whenever the self is discovered and acknowledged.
Yep. Again, there's that word acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
It's always what you're discovering. But when you attach that to something that you see in language, you've already robbed yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's no attachment to reality. Reality is constitutional.
Right.
Attachment is duality.
Yeah.
You got to have a thing plus me.
Right.
Reality is constitutional. It's the thing that makes me be.
Right.
It's the stuff of all that there is.
Yes.
Okay.
Willingness to release all attachment to the past, including judgments, opinions, considerations, habits, and personal preferences, allows possibilities that were unavailable before to reveal themselves.
Yeah, and they do reveal themselves. They're not something that you've already put in place.
Right.
It's like a wellspring, really. Like, you know how a fountain goes up? Well, the water that's coming up hasn't been up there before.
Right.
It's like that. You can't hang it on stuff that's been hanging around. The old hat has to go.
Right.
You have to be willing to be new.
Right.
Get out of your rut. Take a fresh attack on something.
Yep.
You know, when something really bugs me, I have to sit down and take a moment saying, Betty, cut it out. Why do you even care what it looks like? That's not the point. The point is, what is it?
Right.
What has it be there? And what has it be there is the God idea in action.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, unlimited, eternal, whole, complete, joyous, free, on and on and on. That's what's present. Didn't look like that to me before.
Right.
Well, give up on your opinion and on your previous view, the past, and be willing to stand on the brink of something unknown.
Right.
What else? What's possible? Oh, yes. Haven't even thought about it. There's no aboutness to it. It's already there, being itself, being. And itself is all there is to me. And me being is all there is to that stuff. I am the world I walk through.
Yeah. Very good. Now, and what is the idea on page 66? Margaret Laird wrote, science really is the living of revealed truth.
Yeah.
Practice from the standpoint of your own demonstrated understanding.
You know, you can't practice any other way. You can't practice the way your mother taught you to practice. You can't practice the way you see your friend practice. You can't practice because somebody said this is the way to do it. You can only practice being yourself. And how do you practice? Just look at how you learn 2 and 2 is 4. You paid attention. You paid attention. You didn't make conclusions. You just paid attention. Oh, yeah. Oh, one apple, another apple, 2 apples. How about that? Okay. And when I was 6 and learning in school or kindergarten or whatever, that's exactly the way. Oh, yeah, that's the way it works. Okay. We're kind of that way, but we get sophisticated and forget that we're really always, always on the brink of the unknown. It's
Right.
always, oh, this is fresh and new and never been present before ever.
Right.
Because the nature of being is infinite, and infinity has no duplications, no repetitions, never ever duplicates itself, never ever is it the same from one instant to the next. So if I'm stuck in same old, guess what? I'm not even being myself.
Right. Yeah, very good. And in Science and Health on page 414, line 23, Mary Baker Eddy wrote, science declares that mind is substance. Matter neither feels, suffers, nor enjoys.
Yep.
Anything more on that?
Nope. It's pretty clear.
Okay, cool. All right. And then in your book on page 26, you wrote, being is universal, never personal. I think that needs to be said again. Being is universal, never personal, because a lot of times it feels personal.
Almost 100% of the time
Right.
that you're believing you're a
And
two-legged.
then, right. And then it's just let it be.
Allow it to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real key to this language stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the way it looks. Okay, on we go.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. To live universally and impersonally is to discover an environment uniquely designing support for your success and well-being. Is that telling me that if I can just let it all be and keep walking on, that's the best support?
When you say let it all be, what I would say is allow the language to be just the way it is and just the way it isn't, because it doesn't exist. If
Right.
I'm fussing with the language and trying to let it be a certain way,
Right.
or allowing it to look a certain way, or making excuses for it, or bolstering it up, or dressing it up, or whatever. All of that is so much nothing.
Right.
So you want to really be rigorous with yourself on what you're allowing to be. You're
Okay.
allowing your view, your language view, your human belief system, if you will, to just be. Oh, yeah, you think it's that way. Okay. Not. All is infinite mind, whether I know it or not. So I just have to leave it alone. I don't know why it looks that way. Margaret used to say once in a while when something really was persistent with her, the hell with it. You see, in our experience at this level of living, there's always stuff going on.
Right.
Let it be. Let it be. You don't have to take it on like there's a war.
Right.
You don't have to fix it like everything's broken. It's just a point of view. What's present is whole, perfect, complete, eternal, infinite, never repeated, never duplicated. All is infinite mind.
Right.
So just let it all be. It's amazing at how free you are when the resistance drops.
Yeah.
When you let go of the resistance, there's nothing to bang against.
Right.
Everything just flows.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. And what is the idea on page 63? Margaret Laird wrote, the instant you decide from the personal me standpoint, you give yourself two worlds. In this dual vision, everything evolving for the well-being of mankind includes something painful and objectionable.
Yep. And when the painful and the objectionable is bugging you, you can know that you got dual vision going on. Time to wake up.
Right.
What's the fact here? Oh, there's a reality present in spite of this mess that it looks like, or in spite of this pain that feels awful, or in spite of my opinion about that rat over there who treated me so terribly yesterday. How dare he? You know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. What is it? We're working with a science. And fundamental to the science is the perception that the language world is our best view from one moment to the next of a reality that's joyous, whole, free, right now.
Right.
So in allowing the language to be just, I don't know why it looks that way. Let it be. Allowing that, I can experience the presence that has me be.
Yeah.
And that's called practice. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. And in Science and Health, starting on page 417, line 13, Mary Baker Eddy wrote, all causation is mind acting through spiritual law.
Yeah.
Hold your ground with the unshaken understanding of truth and love, and you will win.
Yeah, and hold your ground means that you don't have to rush around smartly doing a whole bunch of stuff. Hold your ground means to sit with the facts of being and allow them to be the presence seen, heard, and felt, no matter what they look like.
Right.
Because nothing else, the stuff I see, hear, feel, taste, and touch, is a point of view. It's a language saying something's here. But science tells me that the way I see it is not the way it is.
Right.
Science tells me that something that's there is the God idea in action. Right. Allow it to be whatever it looks like so that I can experience the reality present.
Right. Yeah, it tells me don't be a reaction machine.
Yep. Good one.
And in your book, Mind is the Athlete, on page 96, you wrote, a life of peace and joy and power requires you to distinguish and be at choice about every one of your actions.
Yeah. You know, we have to give up this fixed thing that we've got as human beings, that there's one way to do something.
Right.
Or that I have to do it that way because that's the way my family does it. Or I have to do it that way because nothing else makes sense. There are no have-tos. There's always choice.
Well, there's choice. There's choice even in chocolate chews.
You have to explain that.
Well, we always think that it's chocolate or vanilla chews. Well, I chose vanilla. Well, why? Because I don't like chocolate. All right, great. So chocolate or vanilla chews. And it's like we always think that it comes at us this way or this way, and we have a choice. But the power of choice is more declarative. It's more being choice than thinking that there's something to choose between. So really how life comes at us is chocolate, choose. And then we can say, well, I didn't choose that. I didn't choose to have blah, blah, blah. Well, nobody asked me. I don't, you have all the reasons why not. And it's the power of choice comes in that you can always choose.
Well, to tag on to that whole idea, the fact of the matter is all of it is my choice.
Right.
I live the world as I am, not as it is, but as I am. I'm always choosing. And what this wants me to do is be at conscious choice.
Right.
Instead of just bumbling around and saying, oh dear, they did it to me, and being a victim. Be a choice. I chose it.
Yep.
I've chosen everything in my life, whether I like it or not. It's
Right.
my choice. I
Right.
can't blame it on anything. Can't blame it on family. Can't blame it on finances. Can't blame it on my friends. Can't blame it on my husband. Can't blame it on the circumstances.
Right.
It isn't because the car is a wreck.
Right.
You know, it's all, there's just one thing going on.
Yeah.
It's infinite perfection present, constituting. Man is the action of the God idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's all my choice, all of my living.
Right.
Yeah.
A whole new arena of focus opens up whenever the self is discovered and acknowledged.
Yep. A
So,
whole new arena.
yeah, and that's it. It's the freedom in being willing. It's the freedom to drop all your judgments and opinions and all that stuff and just acknowledge divinity present, perfection functioning,
Yep.
done.
Yep.
And that's a whole new arena that opens up.
Yeah. And when you see what science teaches us is reflection, it's immediate
Mm-hmm.
and it never ends.
Right.
It's immediate and it never ends. So it's like an eternal reality that's whole and complete
Right.
with no walls, no boundaries, no end.
Right.
I think of a circle or a globe or whatever. It's even bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on and on and on and on and on and on without ever stopping forever.
Right.
Because who you are is the world you walk through.
Mm-hmm.
And the world you walk through is entirely yours.
Right.
The world I walk through is not the same world that you walk through.
Right.
Mine is mine, and you never will know what it is to me. We pretend that we know, but we really don't.
Right.
Because each one is one universal presencing,
Mm-hmm.
perfection, ongoing, whole, complete, perfect,
Right.
without exception. Um, well, we don't have any more time to go into that, but play with that idea because who you are being every moment determines your experience consciously
Right.
of daily living. And you will have in your life everything to support your well being if you allow it to be
Right.
and keep walking on.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. So that concludes our live stream tonight. We'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here at IMS ReThink Life. So we'll see you then.
All right.